Tonight, we're going to be joined in by the New Nation Party Vice President in Rebrand Sambo. I know that for some of you this might seem like a new party. Well, it is, but it was formerly called the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. They've changed its name to New Nation Party. They had a party extraordinary convention in Lusaka the past 3 days where leaders and members gather to ratify amendments to the party constitution, but also to ensure that the name of the party is changed. Their Vice President, Rebrand Sambo, is going to join us to give us reasons why the party has changed its name, but also the cost that this new party is going to move by. Part of the things that President Nevas Mumba mentioned was the fact that they are still endorsing President Hakainde Hichilema in the election of 2026, and they're not participating as New Nation Party. They will still endorse President Hakainde Hichilema. And he mentions that the reason for why they are endorsing President Hakainde Hichilema is because they believe that is the only one, number one, who could win the elections, but also they believe in the vision that President Hakainde Hichilema has for this country. We'll find out from Mr. Rebrand Sambo what the terms of reference are for this alliance that they have with the UPND.
I mean, look, when we heard that the name has been changed, there's a lot of reactions. Others who thought that this now destroys the legacy of the movement for multi-party democracy. I've been seeing people saying the likes of the FTJs, and there's so many other people who have passed on, who are part of the movement in the early 90s, and people saying that they're turning in their graves out of this particular news. But the others who also feel that, well, it's a fresh start. Yeah. And also, I mean, if you're looking at political parties that exist now, we know that when we talk about UNIP and MMD, these are political parties that their names were established based off what their purpose was, what their agenda was. United National Independence Party. Their purpose was to get independence for the Republic of Zambia, which they managed to attain. Movement for multi-party democracy was to reintroduce multi-party democracy in Zambia from the one-party states that were in under the UNIP regime, and that was achieved. And now, I mean, maintaining that particular name, does it still resonate with what your purpose is as a political party? Today we see so many other political parties that have been established that also mention their agenda. If their agenda is towards the economy, for example, of Economic Front, another political party that we've seen change its name from Rainbow Party to Economic Front. So today we have we also have the Patriotic Front. You have Patriots for Economic Progress. You have so many different political parties. The one by Mr. Antonio Man's a Democratic Progressive Party. So you're looking at political parties that have a name that should speak towards their purpose. But when you look at the movement for multi-party democracy, I mean, that was the initial intention. And there was a movement at that time, right? Starting from a pressure group, going into a political party. But does that name resonate with their purpose now? Maybe that could be one of the major reasons why they also thought of rebranding and changing names. I
think also politically, I think the relevance of the MMD has been reducing. If you look at the numbers that they've been getting from the time that they lost elections to the Patriotic Front in 2011, the MMD has been shrinking, in terms of numbers. Right now, they don't have any representation. This is a former ruling party. Now they don't have any single representation at any level, of governance. No councillor, no MP, no council chairperson, no mayor. 2 years ago, President Dr. Nevas Mumba tried to rebrand the MMD by calling it the New Hope MMD, to try and just see how things are going to move, because people didn't want to interact with the MMD at that point, obviously for obvious reasons, that usually it's very difficult for a party that has lost power to return back into office. But also people just felt that it was a finished political party, and there was no, it didn't seem attractive and appealing to the people. Probably now that the name MMD is now out of the picture, people will interact with this new rebranded party as a new party altogether, and this is a hope, of the party. But the results are yet to be seen.
I mean, Andrew, again, at the same time, we would live in a country where there's some people who, to be honest, literally just vote based off a name of a political party.
That's true.
Because it's familiar. So under the MMD, the truth is that they had that advantage. It's just that they've not been actively participating in a number of these by-elections because, well, they are in an alliance, or they've endorsed, rather, President Hakainde Hichilema. And that also, again, speaks into a lot within our political landscape, where you have political parties in an alliance, and those individual political parties, sometimes their relevance dies because they belong to an alliance and they are overshadowed by the anchor political party. Because in every alliance, there's going to be an anchor political party. For example, the UPND alliance, definitely, even by the name of the alliance, you can tell that the UPND are the anchor political party, and it's the UPND where the president of the Republic of Zambia stood under the UPND ticket. So you find that a number of political parties within that alliance lose relevance, and without the anchor political parties, so many questions come in as to how many political parties still have their national relevance. And when we talk about relevance, we may want to specify in terms of national relevance, but in terms of their relevance with their contributions to the national discourse, or whether it's engagement with the Republican president and the government, that could be a different conversation, and maybe that's where their meaningful impact does come in.
But let's get to hear why the name MMD has been changed to a new Nation Party. We're privileged this evening to be joined in by Vice President of New Nation Party, Reverend Ruben Sambo. Is in charge of politics, Vice President in charge of politics. Reverend Sambo, good evening. Thank you so much for making the time to join us on Diamond Live tonight. Let's begin with the...
Before I actually go in, I know Reverend Sambo was recently celebrating his birthday. Belated happy birthday to you, Reverend Sambo.
Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mweka, and thank you very much, Andrew.
What was it? Was it a big 60? How old did you turn recently?
No, I am 2 years away. I am two years away, but it was, because I fell sick 2 years ago.
Yes.
Family felt like we need to say thank you to God for, bringing you back to life.
Oh, great.
Belated birthday, Rev there. But let's get right into it, Reverend Sambo. Why New Nation Party from MMD?
Well, listening to you earlier speaking, I was extremely heartwarmed because you understand the issues. Well, the reason why we have moved from the MMD name to the New Nation Party is simply because, members of our party.
We seem to have lost you there, Reverend Sambo.
Demanded.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
We rebrand. Am I here now?
Yes, you're here now.
Okay, so this was triggered by members of our party who demanded that we actually look into rebranding. And this followed the...
Okay, seems to have lost the connection there, but we've got network.
Yeah, but I think what it's trying to explain there that the change of the party name was triggered by the members of the MMD that they're the ones that were pushing that the name of the party must be changed.
And I guess if that's the case, it speaks towards democratic tenets within the political party. I think one of the challenges that some people tend to believe exists in some political parties is that people unanimously make decisions, especially at the top leadership. If you're a president of the party, you make a decision on your own. You feel that, well, this must change, this must happen. But if it's made collectively, I guess that speaks towards the democracy within a political party.
We have Rev Sambo back. Rev, you're explaining that the decision to change the name was triggered by members of the party.
Of the party, yes, because obviously anybody who lives in our country knows that we've been, our fortunes as a party have been dwindling all the way from when we last scored the highest with President Chiluba when we came in. Our fortunes have basically been dwindling, and we went into opposition, and things are there for everybody to see. We have basically broken down to a point where at the moment we don't have representation in parliament, we don't have representation at local government or any political outfit whatsoever. So our members demanded to know what we were doing about it and how we can rescue it. And so we threw back the question to them, what do you want us to do in order for us to move forward? And it was a unanimous call from the members of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy to rebrand and specifically let us change the name. And so we got busy looking into the legalities of that, looking into how that would happen and how it will carry us forward. And that's how we got to this point.
Mm. Now, with this new change, when you talk about New Nation, because that's the name now, New Nation Party, what exactly is this speaking into when you talk about a new nation? What does this represent? What is the purpose that is being explained or defined through the name of the party?
Well, I think what has happened for us is that it speaks to the aspirations of our party at the moment. You rightly observed earlier on that a political party needs to have a name that actually speaks to its aspirations and its purpose and what it offers to the nation at any given time. And so the New Nation Party is specifically prescribing our thrust. We dream of a new nation. We dream of a nation in which certain things must happen that align to life in the 21st century, life as we know it now, life under this sky of AI and the good life of the Zambian people. Basically, that is what the aspiration is, that we are proposing that we can clean up the country, make it different, make it new, and take on board new ideas. Be open, allow people to participate in the life of the political party, and let them charter their own course. Basically, that is what this is all about.
Now, the truth of the matter is that for the MMD, because of how long it's been in existence, has been a very familiar name to so many people that if the MMD had to be on the ballot today, it would garner some votes, probably based off even just its name and people who still believe in the MMD because of its name. So don't you think that you've lost out on that now, especially with the rebranding into New Nation Party? I know now you've endorsed President Nijilema, and we will not see the MMD really participate or contest, especially the elections in 2026. But don't you think that you've lost out on this advantage you've had as the MMD to capitalize on the popularity you've had just by the name? Okay, seem to have again network connectivity challenge there, but I mean, looking forward to hearing what Reverend Samba is going to say about that, because I mean that's just what the fact of the matter is. There's people who vote based off what they know, what they've known, what they're familiar with. Yeah. I mean, and it probably also take a lot of time to make people understand that the New Nation Party is the rebranded version of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy. Some people might actually think that it's a whole new political party that has been established. In fact, some have actually questioned, saying, why didn't they just create a whole new political party itself and leave the MMD for those who were able to sustain it and those who were able to continue the legacy of the Movement for Multi-Party Democracy? Because there's a lot of work that was done in establishing this movement and this party, and you still have a lot of diehards, even from back in the day, who are active members or supporters of the party. So others have argued that they should have just left that and made their own political party and their own establishment.
Just as you were speaking, I think one of the reasons why the fortunes of the MMD had been dwindling down was after they lost power in 2011. What happened then was that there were court cases that began to happen. We had two factions of the MMD, one belonging to obviously Felix Mtati and one belonging to Dr. Nevas Pumba, and those cases prolonged, in court. And at the time that they were getting out of court, and Dr. Mumba was, giving back the party, for him now to begin to, stabilize the party and ensure that members that left are brought back, it was a difficult, path to take. But also, I would like to find out from, from Rev. He says that with the new name now, they're trying to see how things are going to pan out. In the next election of 2026, obviously they're not going to participate. I think it's going to be interesting to see just how much of an impact this new name was going to have, if at least even they participated at parliamentary level or at local government level. I don't know what the terms of reference are, of the alliance that they have with the UPND, but glad that Rev is back. But Rev, did you get the earlier question by Chimweka?
Maybe I did not get the last question. If you repeat it, I'll be happy.
So my question was that, based off what we've seen, precedents and trends within our political space, one thing we've noticed is that some people get to vote based off what they're familiar with in terms of a political party they're familiar with. And for the MMD has been in existence for a very long time now, and we have so many people who are familiar with the name MMD, especially those who are much older. And if they had to vote, some of them would vote based off the name that they've known for a while, MMD, and cast a vote for MMD. So the fact that you've rebranded now to the New Nation Party, don't you think that you've lost out on that advantage? In addition to, of course, the message and what you would have, be promising to the Zambian people, don't you think that you've lost out on that advantage in a time where you have to contest in an election? And I say this because I know you've endorsed President Njilema going into 2026, so we most likely won't see you contest the next election. But don't you think you've lost out on that advantage you've had in terms of the name MMD?
Well, quite to the contrary. You have to look at statistics to be able to make that point. The MMD is over 32 years old. I think we're now 33 years old on the block. So the people that would be electing us would be somewhere around 50, 60, because these were the 18-year-olds that brought that revolution in 1990. And you have to think around how would the 60 years people react to an election. The election of 2021 that brought in President Hichilema was basically a revolution of the young people. So what the truth is that the MMD had lost touch with the young people. So we were relying basically on what we thought were our structures. And that's how come when we went to an election, we didn't have many votes, because either the people who appreciated the MMD are no longer alive, or they are no longer strong enough to walk to a polling booth. So so the young people don't understand what you mean when you say this is the party that brought democracy. They really don't understand what you're talking about. Some of the presidents that ruled this country, they may not know them that intimately. What that means is that we have to dig deep into the dynamic sense of our society in order for us to make an appeal to the younger people and the ones that are middle-aged, so that they can appreciate that we're a political party that is proposing certain things to the nation so that they can give us a vote. Basically, that's what this is all about.
In the next 10 months,
so there are no losses, if you like.
In the next 10 months, Rev, the country is going to go to the polls. And obviously, like Chimweka mentioned, at the Extraordinary Party Convention, you reiterated your support and your endorsement for President Hakainde Hichilema. Would like to understand tonight, and the Zambians would like to understand what the terms of reference are for your alliance with the UPND. Will you field in your own candidates at different levels, or perhaps you'll be swallowed again by the UPND? What will happen next year?
Well, first of all, I think it's a very important question that you've asked. In terms of what are the terms of references for our alliance, they are very basic. That we respect one another, that we hold together, that we do things in a manner that's a little different from all other political players. That's the underpinning principle for our alliance. Then, of course, we propose many other things that relate to governance, that relate to programs, for alleviating poverty in the nation. But specifically to the issue of whether we are fielding candidates, what I can say to you is this, that there are many of our members who are right now preparing themselves to contest elections at parliamentary level, at local government level, at mayoral level. Many of our members in the New Nation Party are preparing. What we have not yet done as an alliance, not just MMD, but as an alliance or other alliance partners, we have not yet gotten to the point where we discuss how do we approach the election in terms of who do we field, who's going into what constituency. And it's appreciated because these subjects, when they come up and you are not ready to discuss them, they break up alliances. So we are comfortable that we will have this conversation in the next few months before the election, and we will approach this election as a united alliance, as an alliance that's mature, an alliance that knows what is at stake.
Obviously, yes, you're going to discuss the UPND, but what are you bringing on the table? For you as the MMD, will you agree to be swallowed by the UPND in an event that they say we can't allow for you to, to field in candidates? The candidates have to come from the UPND, and you just have to support them.
Well, Chumweka, Andrew, the fact of the matter is this, that there are many of our members in the New Nation Party who have come up and they are ready to stand for election, and they're preparing. They have the resource, they have the wherewith, or they are preparing in their constituencies to do exactly that. And it's not just us. If you go in certain constituencies, even members of the UPND, you find 3, 4, 5, some are even 10. I heard that there are some who are 10 in a constituency. The process will be the same. We will need to bring this matter up in an agenda, in a meeting, and discuss it thoroughly. Yesterday, what you saw in that convention was the presence of our alliance partners, including the Secretary General of the UPND. That was a great show of friendship, a great show of respect to each other. I do not think that if you saw that sort of outplay in that convention, you can imagine that there is even an intention to swallow one or swallow the other. Where we are right now as a nation, we need to accept that alliances are the way to go. There are many alliances. It's not just the UPND MMD alliance. There's a TONSE, there's the UCA. There are many alliances going on around. I know that it interests a lot of people to know how the MMD will face the election. We're facing this election together with our friends in the UPND and the UPND alliance. And the terms, we cannot be disclosing them way off from the election. We will disclose them when we get there.
Your party, even till now, there's still like two factions of the MMD. I don't know now if there's going to be two factions of the New Nation Party, because there's another faction of the MMD that belongs to Gaston Chilima, who claims that President Nevas Mumba's tenure in office as MMD president came to an end in 2022, and all of you office bearers were in office illegally. How are you dealing with some of the members of the MMD that are not with you? Are you on the table discussing with them? But also, what are you saying to their concerns? They're saying that your term of office, as party leaders, came to an end 2 years ago or 3 years ago.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. I think to start to answer that question, I must clearly state that the MMD is now the New Nation Party. So Mr. Sichilima is left in the wind. We wish him well. We don't know what that argument is anymore. I don't even know how he computes the numbers that the term of office for Dr. Mumba ended in 2022. That computation is only, relevant to Mr. Sichilima. It only makes sense to him. We don't know what that computation is. The fact of the matter is this, that Dr. Nevas Mumba's term was ending in 2026. One of the reasons for rebranding, one of the major reasons for rebranding was precisely that issue. We saw that we are the only political party in this country that placed a limit on the term of office of the president. And we know where that kind of thing comes from. That kind of thing comes from when you are in the ruling seat. You tend to take many things for granted. So we decided with the members of our party to open up that space. So the term of office of Dr. Nevas Mumba was not coming to an, or did not end in 2022. That's, the imagination of Mr. Sichilima and his colleagues. The term of office of Dr. Nevas Mumba, who was elected at a convention in 2021, was coming to an end in 2026. We are well within our rights as a political party, gathered as a national convention, to amend our constitution. And I can tell you that we amended our constitution to allow for anybody, not just Dr. Nevas Mumba, for anybody who has what it takes and wants to run as president of our party, to be able to run as long as they feel that they can, they can run.
So before the amendment to the constitution was done, how was the tenure of office defined, within the old constitution of the MMD? Could someone be president for more than 10 years within a political party, the MMD?
Well, no. First of all, let me give you the benefit of history. In 2001, when we went to the convention at Mulungushi, what happened there was that the MMD decided to open up that clause, because remember, the Republican president, Dr. Frederick Chiluba, was coming to an end, and the constitution of the MMD had stayed 2 terms and no further. But we realized very quickly that it doesn't work. This is the president that has mobilized this party, raised resources for this party. Why should we disqualify him? Even for human rights argument's sake, it doesn't make sense. So the MMD in 2001, opened up that space. That's how come we re-elected President Chiluba for a 3rd time. Obviously, the relationship with late President Mwanawasa was not as healthy. So for that period until the next convention in 2005, President Mwanawasa acted as president until he was re-elected himself. He was now elected for a full term in 2005. Now, after that, if you recall, President Mwanawasa froze the 2 positions of vice president, which is completely acceptable when you're at a convention and the president makes that request. It was completely acceptable to freeze. So we didn't have a vice president until President Mwanawasa died. Some people, after we lost President Mwanawasa, decided to reintroduce the clause issue soon after President Nevas Mumba became president. Now, as you know, his tenure of office was interfered with massively. I don't think this president has ever even had a consecutive 2 weeks without interference in office. He ran, by the time his first term was coming to an end in 2017, the same Sichilimas and people decided to confuse that term. They sponsored an illegal convention. kicked us out of office for 4 years. We're in the wilderness for 4 years. When Judge Newa of the High Court of Zambia ruled in our favor and we came back into office, they said, your term now has finished. Very strange. But you are the ones who confused the term. How can you then say the term has finished? So we started reorganizing our party in 2021. So we were given our party back in 2019. Under 2 years, in fact, 1 year, 3 months, we organized a convention, which again, they brought an injunction and said, this is an illegal convention. At that convention, we elected Dr. Nevas Mumba for his second term only. We went, which was going to run to 2026. This is the term that you keep hearing about. Now they've even created an outfit called Save MMD.
Operation Save MMD.
Dr. Nevas Mumba's term was coming to an end in 2026. We have decided, among many amendments to the Constitution that we proposed and acceded to at the convention, one of those proposals was very clearly that the term of office, the limit on the term of office, will have to be lifted. We have lifted it off so he can run if he wants the next convention. It's as simple as that. That's how it works. And that's why he has been re-elected.
Now, Reverend Sambo, earlier, just a few minutes ago, you did mention that the alliances are the way to go now. But then how do you justify that the MMD is still relevant as a political party, especially under the alliance? Because right now, we understand that the anchor political party of the UPND alliance is the UPND itself. And from how many people out there see it, is that a lot of the political parties under this alliance are overshadowed by the UPND. How do you justify your relevance in terms of your contribution to national development and generally the current state of everything prevailing in the country? Because there's also quite a number of issues that people are facing, load shedding, issues around the cost of living. And what has been noticed is that those within the alliance will not address these issues. What we get to see from members of the alliance is the praises that go towards the Republican president and the government of the day. But people rarely hear your voices when it comes to your solutions, what you propose will be better options for some of the challenges being faced. How do you justify your relevance in that regard as members of the alliance?
Well, I think that, to be fair, that question must be asked to all the other people who are in all the other alliances, including UCA, Tonse, and now there is Zambia, the John Sangwa thing. All these alliances must face that same question. But answering it for the New Nation Party, I can tell you that.
All right, we seem to have lost, Bishop, Sambo there. But a very important question, last question that you're asking him.
Because it'd be good to know. I mean, well, he says that it's a question that can be posed to all the other alliances, but I think for the opposition, it's a bit different because they still speak the same language, and they have that aspect to it. But for those within the alliance, I mean, they're also individual political parties. So the big question is, how exactly are they able to address some of these issues? And to be nice to hear from Reverend Sambo on that matter.
We're going to take a break. When we're back, we're going to be speaking with Solomon Ngoma. He's Executive Director of the Action Institute for Policy Analysis Center. We're delving into the ongoing constitutional amendment process. Appointed a 25-member technical committee on constitutional amendments to spearhead a nationwide consultative process aimed at gathering submissions and drafting proposed amendments to the Constitution of the Republic of Zambia. Key thematic areas identified include the electoral process and the system covering the delimitation of constituencies and wards, the tenure of members of parliament and ministers, and the participation of women, youth, and persons with disabilities in governance. The committee will also review provisions relating to key constitutional office holders, such as the Attorney General, and the Secretary to the Cabinet. However, some stakeholders have raised concerns, arguing that the process is being rushed and should be paused to allow for wider consultations and deeper national consensus. Joining us to discuss the constitution-making process is Solomon Ngoma. He is the Executive Director at the Action Institute for Policy Analysis Center. Mr. Ngoma, good evening. Thank you so much for joining us on Time on That tonight.
And good evening to our viewers there.
Let's begin off with understanding what the position of the center is on the, number one, the decision to appoint a technical committee, to amend this constitution, or to collect submissions rather on the constitution of Zambia.
You recall back that IPAC is part of the consortium where I'm the deputy chair for good governance, and where we support this constitutional amendment process. The reason why we support this constitutional amendment process was that we had taken some matters to court on a number of issues that we believe to say that the constitution was inconsistent in some of the things that were happening and in what the law says. And the ruling in those rulings, the courts were very clear to say there's urgent need to review these and amend these certain clauses that seem to infringe on the rights of our people. So we did guide on how a constitutional amendment process is. We said we will support the constitutional amendment process so long we adhere to Article 79 of the Constitution of Zambia, which guides on how a constitutional amendment should be, or a constitutional amendment reforms. But on this one, we are talking about specifically, these are constitutional reforms. These are not amendments. So there's a difference there. Constitutional amendment and reforms is a difference. So the consultation is that the government came up with, the president mentioned earlier this year on Youth Day, actually, on Women's Day, when he said he believes to say that it was time that we amend the constitution so that we allow the PPR system to have more women and the others, the youths represented, that is persons with disabilities, to be represented in the National Assembly. Of course, it sparked a debate where some stakeholders, IPAC was actually one of them, that raised the concern to say the president is mandated by the constitution to initiate the process of the government. Anyone can start the process. You remember that the Bill 10 was started by the late Rogers Mwamwera, Member of Parliament for Masangamba constituency. So anyone can wake up. Even myself, I can wake up and start a process and remind the government, say, we have to amend this process. So when the government, we heard the Minister of Justice, Honorable Prince Kasuni, where she released the 13 amendments, where we gave our position as IPAC to say, we support these clauses, although we raised concerns in some articles that were presented that were said these are not good for a democratic society like our country, like the issue of on how do we get rid of by-elections. We have to be careful as a country to say, okay, the by-elections, we say we get rid of them. We get rid of by-elections. Then we say what will be next. We say the political party that won that seat should nominate a candidate to put that. For us, we are saying we raise that as against, because one, it can bring chaos, it can bring confusion.
Before we get down into some of those issues that are now acting as terms of reference,
yes.
For this constitution, I think the biggest challenge or worry that most stakeholders have been bringing on the table is the fact that these amendments have been rushed. We are technically 10 months away from an election, and obviously you know that in an election year, you don't want to touch the constitution. What was the position of the center, over some of these concerns that other stakeholders have, that this process has been rushed, but also we must wait until the elections are done so that we build enough consensus for us to amend our constitution?
I'll be very honest with you and very categorically clear that let us look at our history as a country. 61 years of our independence, we have to understand where we are coming from as a country. Where are we coming from, Zambia? In our colonial days, we go back to the colonial days, that the forefathers of our country fought very hard to liberate this country. And one of the reasons that the liberation took place was to demand for a new constitution to allow for the black political parties to participate in an election to become independent, of which was granted. It was amended during that period. I'll take you back again to say in 1990, 1991, the UNIP term was supposed to end in 1993. That's when the term was ending. But because of Zambians had reason to say we want this to run this way, we amended this Constitution of the Republic of Zambia. It was amended by Dr. Kenneth David Kaunda, where we said to allow for multi-party democrats to participate. It was an election year. The MMD, after FTJ, amended the Constitution It was a year, next year was supposed to have elections. They amended the constitution where the parental clause was introduced in that one. It was an election year. President Edgar Lungu amended the constitution. The MMD almost amended the constitution in 2010. How
President Edgar Lungu amended the constitution?
It was in 2015, 2016 it was signed. President Lungu was sworn in.
But the constitutional amendments of 2016 started in 2011 when President Michael Sata won the elections. And then it was enacted in 2016, obviously after that election that led ECO into office.
No, you will recall to say that the Levi Mwanawasa Commission of Inquiry, the National Commission, which was part was that started those processes where we said, and it failed. You remember that in 2010 we should have amended the constitution, and the members of parliament, both from the ruling PF, now the opposition, then the UPND and the PF, did not support the MMD, and that's how it collapsed. We went into the elections in 2011, those elections. Michael Sata appointed a technical committee in 2012 to look at it, to go to the National Committee was appointed to say go countrywide and get the views and so see how to amend. Same stakeholders made the same submissions from all the constitutional amendment reviews we've been making. The same stakeholders participated in those to make sure that we have this. What we saw, if you remember very well, to say that it was in 2013, the Margaret Sata was supposed to receive that report from the late Roger Sachonga Commission, where we saw how the drama that was messed up. We said, look, and by then, the one was Mr. Honorable Winter Kabimba, became the Minister of Justice. And he argued on that to say that Zambia was not in a hurry to amend the constitution. Let's focus on development. And that's how that same report disappeared. Unfortunately, Dave came in, President Michael Sata, we lost President Michael Sata. If you remember very well that the 2015 presidential elections was focused on wanting to say, we shall give you a constitution. The UPND had vowed that if they win the 2015 election, they will give the people of Zambia a constitution that reflects the aspirations of our people. Mr. Edgar Lungu, while being sworn in there in Hilo Stadium, we appointed the Honorable Dr. Sumbia Kolema as First Minister of Justice and told him to say that we have to start to give the people of Zambia a constitution. And that's how that committee, that report was taken, of which the public never did. There was no, yes, the public might have made submissions. But we remember that the 2016 number 12 was taken to Parliament and the debates came in there. It was an election year. That was 2015. November, October, somewhere there. By December, members of Parliament, remember that they left the House very late to make sure that it passed. And it was passed to what we have now today, we said, to number 2 of amendment of 2016 Constitution.
Would you agree? We've heard several stakeholders say that this is the best constitutional amendment we've seen in the history of Zambia, and some of those people saying that legal scholars like State Councilor John Sangwa, he's of the view that that's the best amendment we've ever seen, from the process to the content of the amendment itself. Do you agree?
I will agree on in my views, and I respect Mr. John Sangwa's opinion. The 2016 Constitution Amendment set a tone on how the people of Zambia had always wanted, on how they would want to be governed. They were very clear to say in the Constitution they want a president to win 50+1. They were clear to say they don't want a president to be appointing vice president, fire this one. They said we want the people of Zambia, we ourselves, to elect a alignment aligned with the president. In case of anything that might have happened, the vice president just assumes office. They were very clear to say they don't agree that councillors should be elected who should become the mayor of the city, of any seat, or a council chairperson. They said we ourselves want to be the ones to elect who should become the mayor. Those were progressive. They want also further to say, we want, Zambians were very clear to say, we also want to have in our constitution, we want to have the constitutional court, so that we have other constitutional matters are dealt with. For example, I'll give you an example that the social and cultural clause, which is not there right now, the Bill of Rights, which is not there. Because the constitutional court will only become very effective. Right now, the constitutional court has only been subjected to to focus only on elections, petitions, but the more focus of the Constitutional Court is to deal with matters that will be enshrined in the Bill of Rights. That's their role, to interpret and able to guide that. So it is, yes, I agree with him. We have made progressive. But when you look again, the same Constitution again, it has lacunas again. For example, I don't agree ourselves to say that we should have the judicial service chairperson. That the president, only the judicial service will recommend to the president to say this judge should be removed from word, apart from the previous, because the old law was very good, where the president was mandated to appoint a tribunal to investigate and to hear a judge, whether the judge is guilty or not. Unlike the way it is now, where I can wake up today and accuse any judge and say this judge done that, and write and put a complaint. Any investigation would be done, but so it shows that how it has been abused as that. So now, that's what we are saying to say, yes, all these we should have addressed. I don't agree myself that the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution, should come from, should any just lawyer, somebody's a lawyer. No. We are of the view ourselves to say the DPP should have somebody who might have worked, who should come from within the institution of NPA, who understand very well how the system should operate. Unlikely what you have, where you have the abuse. You remember the other cases where you find the DPP can enter a case, we withdraw these matters and what, and the people, the public or your complainant will never be told why a case has been withdrawn. That leaves room for abuse of that position.
Now, getting back now to this particular technical committee, first of all, we've had a number of stakeholders who have said it's illegal. And secondly, there's been a lot of concern around how the whole process has happened, because we had a constitutional judgment that had stated that certain aspects of this process, especially from the engagement of the public, was unconstitutional. It had no constitutional backing and did not meet the standards. There was a judgment around that. We've heard certain people being called for President Hichilema to be impeached, and I think recently we've also seen those who've taken matters as well to court that he should not even contest in 2026. Based off that, the argument and why some people feel that this technical committee is a sham is that it's happening in reverse, where proposals have been made and now people are making deliberations based off what the proposals have been. With these arguments, do you agree with those who say that this whole process is illegal, should be seen as now in void, and should not even carry on?
I'll put it this way: we respect their opinion. We respect their opinion. President Hichilema used the Article 92 in appointing this commission, this technical committee. The president is mandated by the Constitution under Article 92 to appoint people who he believes he can appoint anybody to say, advise us on this and advise us on this. Now, those stakeholders that are saying to say that they were not consulted, the president, I come from a consortium that we were the first that called for to say we don't agree in the manner that the Minister of Justice is going throughout the country, meeting people in a war, doing what, then you say your endorsement. We said that is not how you do order consultation. Order consultation has to involve stakeholders, various organizations, students, union, media, everybody is supposed to consult to provide, because these are key stakeholders when it comes to amending the Constitution. Now, all of us as stakeholders, including those that are opposing today, we find ourselves, we wrote to the president, say, we want to have a meeting, Mr. President, with you, because your Minister of Justice, we wrote to the Minister of Justice, she ignored our consortium when we wrote like that. And we wrote to State House the president. The president accepted to meet us, and including those other consortium that did not agree, do not support this constitutional amendment. We found ourselves at State House. And the president listened to us. He gave his own position, why we should have a meeting. The other consortium gave their own. We also gave their own. As stakeholders at large, we all agreed to say there is need to have an independent technical committee which should reflect, which should come from stakeholders, not the government itself to be the one to go around, of which the president accepted and directed Secretary to Cabinet. We were there. All of us said, we heard you, and the director said, try to come up with a committee, start the process and that processes. Unfortunately, that's when we lost our 60th president, Dr. Edgar Chagarongo. When the committee was put in place, even those that did not agree, even those that are opposing the constitution opposing, they have their members sitting in that technical committee. You have heard that when the terms of reference were released, IPAC and other consortium, we issued a statement as a consortium to say the terms of reference that have been raised, because we said we'll only comment when these are raised, because this will determine how we travel. Now, we provided our own analysis. We supported, we said, okay, we support this, although we don't agree on the restrictive part that the terms of reference seems to suggest. We had the vice chairperson of the technical committee, Dr. Banda. He issued a very good statement where he clarified on the Phoenix to say, members of the public and stakeholders are free to make submissions even away from what has been submitted, so long it is what they feel to be amended. It will be considered, because the views are when you're amending a constitution, people will submit. We look at the minority, we look at the majority, we look at what is it that the majority that I want. Is it in favor of the majority? So all these, so he mentioned that, and that's what I was saying, to say, look, citizens are free to go and submit. If they feel to say today they don't want the president to be appointing any lawyer just because somebody is a lawyer to become maybe director of ACC or what, maybe they are saying we want officers from ACC to rise from those ranks to become that, the committee will have to listen and able to accept that submission. That's what we have ourselves as IPAC have been telling our people.
But don't you think that's academic? Because then they'll be going against what they've been employed to do. You've been employed to collect
the views
on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 issues.
If you read very well the terms of reference there was a clause there on the part where I say that remember, when you go down there, there's a clause which says to say, and other submissions. So which means other submissions. This is where we're bringing these issues. For example, I'll give example. You heard in Northwestern Province. You have heard almost of all the where the provinces have been going. One key issue is two coming issue, where Zambians are saying they do not want the president to be appointing ministers from parliament. They want the president to appoint ministers outside parliament to make our democracy strong. This issue has not started now. It started way back. Every constitutional presentation review, these issues have come up to say Zambians are clear to say they want the Republican president to appoint ministers can make sure that they hold the executive accountable for those ministers that will be appointed outside parliament. So that the focus of MPs will be to focus more on making sure that the roles and how do we purify our democracy.
Let's talk about the time frame that has been allocated to amending this constitution. Do you think it's sufficient enough for us to deal with these issues that we're talking about tonight?
Yes, it is very sufficient. It's very sufficient because we are not reviewing the whole constitution. We are reviewing specifically a few clauses that seems to threaten our democracy if we don't attend to them. Even those that today that are agreeing today.
Do you think that the current constitution in its form threatens our democracy?
It does, yes, it does. How? Completely. You remember that in the case of McDonald Spain's Gears and DCZ, where they went to court and sued the Gears, and the Constitutional Court ruled to say when Lusaka Central as parent candidate Charlie Rumpa pulled away from the race, they went to say no, allow people to continue campaign. The court said no. They said Article 52, they were clear in Clause 6 to say the court say anybody who dies, a candidate dies or resigns, you are supposed to call for fresh nominations. Now here is the situation. We have seen how many presidential candidates are showing up today that they want to participate in the elections next year. What possibility do we have that all of them, that what happens if 2 or 4 of them decide to start playing the politics and say, I've withdrawn from the race? It means ECZ have to cancel the elections and call for fresh nominations, which will be very costly for the country. It means instead of having the elections in August, we may end up having the elections in December after 90 days. Again in December, and December pulls out again, you may end up having the elections next year.
But the Constitutional Court in the Gears initiative was very clear on under what conditions a fresh election will be held and under what conditions the election must go on. The Constitutional Court had guided that if it's an independent that has resigned or is dead, I mean, resigns rather. When you're dead, then they're going to call for fresh nominations. But if it's an independent candidate that resigns, then the election must proceed because it's not sponsored by any political party. The reason for why we were triggering Article 52 was that it was going to be unfair for an election to proceed without offering an opportunity for a political party,
To participate.
yes, to participate. But if it's an independent, it will proceed. That in itself, don't you think Article 52 in itself, like what President Hakainde Hichilema said a while ago, is good in its current form?
It's a danger. I will be honest with you. It's a very danger because the court there in that judgment also misread itself.
As you answer that, why are we working on assumptions that candidates will withdraw and will have a crisis in our constitution when the same constitution we're using now is the same constitution we used in 2021, and we didn't see a calamity happen of what you're thinking about that might happen?
You know, the constitution is the foundation of our democracy. And when you are making laws, we don't make laws for today. We make laws for the future. You don't make laws to fix individual do what? No, that is wrong. You make laws
To stand the test of time.
The Constitutional Court ruled like that, but they didn't guide us on a political party. For example, if the candidate files in from a political party, then the party decide to recall that prince, say, we have expelled this presidential candidate, we have recalled him, we want to put somebody else. How would you do it like that? Are you going to say, the court never pronounced that, they never said that. They said you have to call for fresh so that you allow the political party, we have explained it. Now, for us that becomes a danger in the sense that we are not a rich country where we should be printing ballot papers again and over and again and over time.
Why don't we go to court and ask the court the question so that they give us guidance as opposed to changing the constitution, which is a very sensitive topic for Zambians, especially in an election year? Why don't we go to court and ask those questions?
Well, I like you have said it, but do we need every time to rush to court? Then it means we have a wrong constitution. A constitution should speak itself very clearly on how we should govern ourselves. Because the court, you have seen that our courts have been, they can make judgments and able to overturn them. We have seen in the ECA eligibility, the court also made the return. So there's this provision said, let us go back to our constitution and say a constitution should speak simple language to say, if they say to say, do this, and this, and that. I'll give you an example, the constitutional court that Kenya, South Africa, and others, they have been very clear when it comes to judgments. Our constitutional court in Zambia, yes, they are trying to do that. We look at even the same bill 7, how the court made that ruling. Yeah. The court failed to call bill 7 whether it was a legal document or not. Or what they did was just to provide how a constitution is amended.
And still on that, again, making reference to another legal scholar, former Attorney General Musa Mwenye, he says, in as much as he was part of the people that opposed Bill 10 of 2019, but he says that the process of even bringing up Bill 10 was more democratic, was more legally, a more legal basis than what we're seeing with Bill 7 now. Do you agree with him?
No, I'll tell you one thing. Let me tell you this. In Zambia, we don't have a clause in the constitution that tells us how we should amend the constitution. Let's be very clear on that one.
But that's precedence.
That precedence we have set it, but that does not mean that's the official position on how we should amend the constitution. What we should focus on as the expert, as academia or expert, we should focus on to say, how do we come up with a policy on every time we want to amend the constitution? How do we come up with a policy that protects the content, protects the process, protects the views of the submission of the people without political interference or political influence?
Do you think the current system we're in, that we've undertaken, is protecting the content and the process?
The president has done what the Constitutional Court guided to say there must be a technical committee. There must be a committee, an independent committee set up. They must go in provinces or in districts to go and write. When the president was swearing in the technical committee, the president was very clear. He told them to say, you yourself, you're experts, go to district or to provinces, go and ask the people. And he was very categorically clear to say, we will listen to the people of Zambia. If the people says we go ahead and amend, we'll go ahead and amend. If the people say, oh, no, but so the issue, what I'm trying to point here is that in any constitutional amendment, anywhere in the world, there will always be those that will oppose with good reasons, others with different reasons. So our colleagues have opposed the process to say the committee is not what. Our people in districts have made submissions, have appeared before the technical committee to make submissions on what they believe should be amended. And our people have told us to say that in all what they have done in their research, all the submissions that have come from our people, the people are saying to say on delimitation, they are saying the government should hold that process, because until the people of Zambia are given that report in their hand to say, now you can now delimit, because we know which constituents and which words, in order to, for boundaries, in order to, so that we're very clear that. But the rest they are saying, we agree with it, that the Attorney General, Solicitor General, these are not supposed to be attached to a term of a president. Once the president comes in, this one comes in, then they are removed. Then you have issues now. You start having issues. There is no handover. There is no what. We are saying this should become part of the civil servant, that if they reach the age of 65 years, let them retire. That's what our people have spoken. On the issue of secretary to cabinet, our people have opposed what they proposed, that we said we reduce to 5 years. They are saying no, let's maintain the 10 years, but let's remove the word permanent secretary. But let's put it to say somebody with public administration management of over maybe 10 years in government can become secretary to cabinet.